Your grandfather used natural cleaning methods on his whole house with things you already have in your kitchen. And here is the part nobody tells you. He was not being cheap, and he was not being old-fashioned. He was right. Long before the shelves were full of plastic bottles and chemical sprays, your grandfather kept a home that was spotless, fresh, and healthy, using almost nothing but salt, vinegar, lemon, and baking soda. And modern science has quietly confirmed that most of what your grandfather did actually works. But there is a second layer to all of this, a reason he cleaned certain rooms in a certain order, with a certain ingredient that has nothing to do with dirt at all. By the end of this, you will know both the real cleaning power behind each of his secrets and the old meaning he attached to it. So walk through the house with me, room by room, the way he would have, because a few of these are going to surprise you, and one or two of them you have probably been doing wrong your whole life. Before we open the first door, understand his whole arsenal because it came down to just a few humble things. Salt, a mineral used to preserve and purify since ancient times. White vinegar, whose active ingredient is acetic acid, a mild acid that sits around 2 to 3 on the pH scale and dissolves what is hard and crusted. Lemon, which carries citric acid, another gentle acid that also happens to smell like sunshine and fight odors. Baking soda, whose real name is sodium bicarbonate, a soft base that sits around 8 to 9 on the pH scale, cuts grease and swallows smells, and a little lavender for calm. That was it. No brand names, no warning labels, no gloves. Each one does a specific job, and the trick your grandfather understood in his bones was matching the right ingredient to the right mess, an acid for the hard mineral stains, and a base for the greasy ones. Once you see it that way through the lens of the pH scale, the whole house opens up. So let us start where he always started, down on the floor. Your grandfather washed his floors with a bucket of hot water and a good handful of coarse salt, and sometimes, if he had it, the juice of half a lemon. A good microfiber cloth or mop makes this even more effective, since the fine fibers hold the solution and lift grime without scratching. Now here is what is really happening in that bucket. Salt dissolved in hot water makes a mild cleaning solution that helps lift light grease, loosens grime, and is surprisingly good at pulling out stale odors that a plain mop just pushes around. The lemon adds a fresh, faintly acidic boost and a clean smell. It is simple, it is nearly free, and on the right floor it genuinely works. But I have to give you the warning your grandfather did not need, because his floors were probably wood or plain tile. Do not use that salt and lemon water on natural stone. If you have marble, travertine, limestone, or any polished stone floor, the salt can be abrasive, and the acid in the lemon will actually etch the surface, leaving dull, rough spots that never fully polish out. On sealed tile and finished wood, his recipe is lovely. On stone, reach for plain warm water with a drop of mild soap instead. That is the practical truth. And the old meaning behind it, for your grandfather, washing the floor with salt was never just about the floor. Salt has been used for purification in nearly every culture on Earth for thousands of years. To him, mopping with salt water was a reset for the whole house, a way of closing out the old and starting the space clean again. He was not casting a spell. He was marking a fresh beginning, and there is real comfort in that. Now to the windows, and this is one he absolutely nailed. Your grandfather cleaned his glass with nothing but water and plain white vinegar. And there is no myth here at all. This is simply good chemistry. Vinegar is a mild acid, which makes it excellent at dissolving the hard water spots, the filmy residue, and the light grime that build up on glass and leave it cloudy. A 50-50 mix of vinegar and water, wiped down and buffed dry with a microfiber cloth, leaves a window clearer and brighter than most of the blue sprays you can buy, and without the streaks. It costs pennies. There is a reason this one has never gone out of style, and the meaning he saw in it was simple and human. Clean glass lets the light pour in, and a room full of light feels bigger, calmer, more open. He believed a bright window lifted the mood of the whole house, and honestly, the psychologists would not argue with him. Light genuinely affects how we feel. He just knew it first. From the windows we moved to the front door, to the entryway, because your grandfather treated the entrance to his home as something special. He would wash the entryway floor and the step with water and fresh lemon juice. The real effect is straightforward. Lemon is a natural mild disinfectant and a powerful deodorizer, so the most walked-on, dirt-tracked part of the house got a little hit of cleaning and a fresh, bright citrus scent that greeted anyone who came in. Practical and pleasant, but the meaning ran deeper for him. The threshold, the doorway, is the point where the outside world becomes home. Cleaning it was his way of saying that what is tired and heavy from the day stays outside, and only what is welcome comes in. It is a small ritual of care, and everyone who stepped through that clean, lemon-scented doorway felt it, whether they could name it or not. Now into the heart of the house, the kitchen, and here his secret was baking soda. Plain baking soda, sometimes as a paste with a little water, sometimes just sprinkled on a damp cloth. This one is a workhorse, and the science is rock solid. Baking soda is a gentle base, which makes it a fine grease cutter, and it is very mildly abrasive, so it scrubs cooked-on messes off the stove and the counters without scratching them. On top of that, it is one of the best natural odor absorbers there is, which is exactly why people still keep an open box in the fridge. For the room where all the cooking smells and grease collect, it is close to perfect. He had a few tricks with it too. A paste of baking soda and a little water, left on a greasy oven or a scorched pot for a while, lifts burnt-on mess that would otherwise take a lot of scrubbing. A small bowl of it left in the back of the icebox keeps everything smelling clean. Sprinkled on a cutting board and rubbed in, it takes the smell of onion and garlic and fish right out of the wood. And the meaning he gave the kitchen was the warmest of all. The kitchen was the heart of the home, the place the family gathered and was fed, and keeping it clean and sweet-smelling was, to him, keeping the well-being of the whole family alive. Renew the kitchen, renew the home. Now the bathroom, and this is where I have to correct one of the most famous old recipes of all, because you have probably been doing it wrong, and so was half the internet. The old advice is to clean the bathroom by mixing vinegar and baking soda together into that big, dramatic fizz. It looks powerful, it feels like it must be working. But here is the truth that a chemist will tell you. When you mix vinegar and baking soda, an acid and a base, they neutralize each other. All that fizzing is the two of them canceling each other out, producing water, sodium acetate, and carbon dioxide, and what you are left with once the bubbles die is basically salty water. You have wasted both ingredients, so do this instead. Use them separately. Sprinkle the baking soda on and scrub to lift grime and kill odors. Then spray the vinegar on the lime scale and hard water rings and let its acid do the work on its own. A good microfiber cloth makes the wiping step far more effective here too. Same two ingredients your grandfather trusted, used the right way, and now they are actually cleaning instead of just putting on a show. The meaning he held on to here was about clearing away the stagnant, the stale, the standing dampness, and getting back to a feeling of deep, fresh cleanliness. Good instinct, we just fixed the recipe. Next, he would go after the corners, the forgotten places, and this tells you something about how he thought. Your grandfather would take a light cloth with a little salt water and wipe down the corners of the rooms, the spots behind doors, the places most people never touch. The practical value is real. Corners are where dust, cobwebs, and stale air quietly collect, and cleaning them cuts down on the grime and the musty smell you stop noticing because it is always there. But he believed something more. He believed a house is only as fresh as its most neglected corner, that the hidden, stuck places matter just as much as the ones on display. Tending the corners was his way of making sure the renewal reached everywhere, not just where guests would look. There is real wisdom in that, and it is not only about dust. Then the bedroom, and here he softened. To refresh the bedroom, he turned to lavender, a little lavender water misted lightly, or small cloth sachets of dried lavender tucked among the linens and in the drawers. The real effect is gentle but genuine. Lavender is one of the few scents with actual research behind it for easing stress and helping with sleep. It is not a medicine, and we should not oversell it, but a calm, familiar scent in the room where you rest does help the body wind down, and the meaning could not be simpler or truer. The bedroom is for peace and rest, and he filled it with the smell of calm on purpose. He was, in his own quiet way, practicing what we would now call aromatherapy, decades before it had a fancy name. Almost done, and now the mirrors, which he treated just like the windows with water and vinegar, same chemistry, same result, a streak-free, crystal-clear surface with no filmy residue and no expensive spray. But he gave the mirror its own meaning, separate from the glass in the walls. A clear mirror to him was about seeing yourself and your home plainly, without a haze in the way. Clarity of the surface, clarity of the mind. It is a small poetic idea, and there is no harm in it. And every time you catch a clean, bright reflection, you understand exactly what he meant. And last, the part almost everyone forgets, the doors and the handles. Your grandfather would wipe the doors, and especially the door handles, with water and a little lemon. And of everything on this list, this might be the one with the most modern, practical sense behind it. Door handles are high-touch surfaces, the spots every single hand in the house lands on all day long, which makes them one of the great hiding places for germs. Wiping them with lemon, a natural mild disinfectant and sanitizer, was smart hygiene long before anyone talked about high-touch surfaces, and his meaning tied the whole house together. The handles and the doors are the points of passage, the places where one part of life opens into another, and keeping them clean was keeping the flow of the home cared for and in order. And here is why all of this is coming back, why young people are suddenly cleaning the way their grandfathers did. It is not just nostalgia. His way is genuinely better in ways that matter now. Those plastic spray bottles your grandfather never bought are full of VOCs, volatile organic compounds, chemicals that evaporate into the air you breathe and are a known trigger for asthma, allergies, and respiratory irritation in closed rooms. Poor indoor air quality from these chemical fogs is a bigger problem than most people realize, and it builds up silently every time you spray. The EPA Safer Choice program exists precisely because that became a real public health concern, and the ingredients your grandfather used, salt, vinegar, lemon, baking soda, clear that bar without a second thought. You are not spraying a fog of harsh chemicals into the air, so it is far kinder to anyone with sensitive lungs and far safer around small children and pets who put their hands and paws on every surface. There are no mystery ingredients you cannot pronounce. It costs a tiny fraction of what a cupboard full of specialized sprays from the big makers like Procter & Gamble will run you, and one bag of baking soda and one bottle of vinegar can clean half the house. You are not throwing away a mountain of plastic bottles every year. This is the whole heart of what people now call the zero waste movement, now a $50 billion industry as of 2025. And even old authorities on the home like the Good Housekeeping Institute have come back around to confirming that plain vinegar and baking soda used correctly really do the job. For a whole generation worried about what they breathe, what they spend, and what they throw out, your grandfather's plain and simple kitchen turns out to have been ahead of its time all along. He was not behind. We just caught up to him, so look at what he really had. Salt, vinegar, lemon, baking soda, and lavender. 5 simple things, almost no money, and a house that was genuinely clean, fresh, and healthy, backed up by chemistry we can now explain. And wrapped around every one of those recipes was a small meaning, a bit of care and intention that turned a chore into a ritual and a house into a home. You do not have to believe in anything to feel the difference between a home that is just wiped down and a home that is tended. He knew that. Take the ones that work, remember the warning about the natural stone and the vinegar and baking soda, and keep the spirit of the rest. Now I would love to hear from you. What did your grandfather clean with, and what did he say while he did it? Tell me down in the comments, because these old secrets are disappearing, and everyone you share helps keep them alive. If this brought his kitchen back to you for a minute, stay with me, because there is a whole lifetime of his wisdom worth remembering, one room at a time. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.